Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Binghamton Devils defenseman Julian Melchiori. Julian, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. You know, lots of people have been watching Tiger King. Outer Banks and Ozarks are two great shows. What have you been doing during quarantine?
I Can I say the same thing as that? No, I mean a little bit of watching TV shows. I mean, I think everyone to start didn't really know how to handle it.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
definitely big into Netflix, but um, a little bit more active now. I've been playing a little bit more tennis and basketball. Obviously, where I'm in Toronto right now, our restrictions are allow us to do that. So I've been doing some stuff outside now, so some light biking, basketball, tennis, and even it sounds funny just going for walks and stuff at night.
Yeah.
I'm with my girlfriend right on the water here in Toronto, so we get to walk along the water, and it's nice. It's kind of different than what I'm usually used to, but like I've said before, like it's everyone's kind of getting better at it, I think, and everyone's handling it differently. But I think for me, I've kind of innovated and learned to do some new things in this time.
Like you said, you're working out doing tennis. How do you hope to remain active and be in shape for next season? Because you don't want to peak too early.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting off season to say the least. I kind of slowed it at first. I wasn't really sure what was happening, and I kind of was going heavy on the workouts. But now it kind of seems like we're going to have a little bit of a pushback season. So I've kind of laid off the gas a little bit, and like I said, kind of just been doing some active activities, basketball, soccer, tennis, and some workouts as well too. But I'm kind of just gonna lay off that a bit and kind of see what's gonna happen here first before I kind of go full mode into that.
Have you been watching NASCAR or Bundesliga since it has returned?
No, actually, I mean, not at all. Have you or?
No, I'm not too big into NASCAR or Bundesliga, to be fair. I'm not a big soccer fan unless if it's the international events, such as, the World Cup and that stuff. That has
Yeah,
me stuck to my TV. I come from an Italian background, so, go
yeah,
Italy, go. But other than that, once the NBA returns, which is set for like July 30th, I believe,
yeah,
which will be fun, then, yeah, I'll be glued to my TV once that returns.
yeah. I mean, I think everyone is missing hockey, so um, yeah, can't wait for that.
Who influenced you to start hockey?
It was my mom's family. My dad didn't really play hockey at all. My mom, her brother Mike Murphy played in the NHL for I think it was 13 years. He was the captain of the LA Kings, and now he's actually the vice president of hockey operations at the NHL. He had three sons that played hockey. Two of them were drafted in the NHL, played in the AHL. One played in the AHL, one played, I think, in the East Coast League. A little bit older than me, but I have a really strong family background in hockey, um, and yeah, my parents got me into it at a young age, and it was kind of my family influence that got me going.
I have been following your play for quite some time now, and you did train with Josh Robel, I believe. What are some advantages of having a personal skills trainer?
Um, a lot of different things. I've worked with Josh Rowell a few years back. I've worked with a lot of guys on ice, off ice. Um, there's tons of advantages. I mean, there's so many guys out there now. Whatever your strengths, weaknesses are. Um, for me, I love having a skill guy in the summer that works with me one on one. I think that's kind of a part of the game that took a little bit longer for me to develop for me. I was always more of a bigger, stronger, faster guy, and so that's something I like to work on, but it's just, especially where I live now, I'm from Toronto, like I said, and there's just so many different resources out here, and it's great to see.
Was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Chris Pronger. My dad used to always tell me to watch Chris Pronger, and I think it was like 2000, 2001 when he won MVP and Norris Trophy. In the same year, that was like kind of I would have been, 9 years old. So that was kind of one of my first year I could actually sit and watch hockey and enjoyed it. And we watched him lots, and it was just, cool to see him win that year. And that was kind of when I fell in love with watching hockey.
Now, like you said, you're from Toronto, so would you also agree that the media helped you get into hockey in a way?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, for sure. I to be honest, I've never even thought of it from that point of view. But for sure, I mean the coverage here and Toronto and your Habs are
Yeah.
probably the two biggest in the world for hockey. So yeah, for sure. It's somewhere you go anywhere in Toronto, any store, restaurant, and TSN's in the background playing, and so yeah, I would say that probably helped my hockey influence as well.
So I want you to, tell me about your road to where you are today. Like, you started in the minor leagues in, Richmond Hill or Toronto. Like, where did you go from there?
It was kind of an interesting path for me. I was always I grew up playing for the Toronto Marlboros, and I was there for 7 years total. And I was always kind of a smaller player growing up, and I was kind of didn't really develop till I was a little bit older. So I was always an average player on a good team, and um, just the idea of playing Division I hockey or even in the OHL was kind of in the distance for me. I was just kind of enjoying hockey at the time, and worried about playing AAA and staying there. And so I guess eventually what happened was I did get drafted to the OHL. I was kind of a late round pick. I was 14th round actually, and it never really occurred to me to even make a career out of hockey. Like I said, I love playing hockey, but I wasn't great. I was more of an average player on a good team, like I said. Um, so I ended up kind of setting my hopes on Division I hockey, and I really wanted to get my education paid for. My family was all in. If I could play hockey and get my education paid for at any degree, that would be a win. And it was probably right around 17, 18 years old. I had a huge growth spurt, and I just kind of fully engaged and put all my eggs in one basket. And I remember it was I don't want to say it was one summer, but it was probably over 2 years where I just um, was really adamant with working out, skating, and it was just 2 crucial years for me. And I didn't really look down or look to side where everyone else was doing. I kind of just like I said, put all my eggs in one basket. And before I knew it, I had some NCAA teams calling me and asking me to come and visit. And I actually did commit to a school, UMass Lowell, and I was I think I was 17. It was a pretty early commitment. It was about a year and a half after I got drafted to the OHL, which doesn't really always happen like that from being such a late pick, but it ended up working out. And so then I was really set on playing at UMass Lowell and getting my education. I was super pumped. It was a D1 school. It was an up-and-coming school, good crowd. Hockey program was getting better. And then I just put my head down and kept working, and I didn't even really think about NHL draft or anything of that means. I was just playing Tier 2 Junior A at the time, obviously, because you can't play in the OHL if you're going to go to the NCAA. And then it was funny how it worked out. I started getting calls from NHL scouts, and obviously I have a late birthday, so I was getting drafted with 92 birthdays. I was 91, and I started getting calls from NHL scouts, and I ended up getting drafted at a Tier 2 Junior A that year, which was quite a surprise. This is going to be funny for some people, but Atlana Thrasers. It was actually
That's a
their last.
throwback.
Yeah, it's a throwback. It was their last year in existence. Um, so that's kind of my claim to fame. I was the last third rounder in Atlanta Thrasers history. But they were pretty adamant. They thought that it'd be best if I played in the OHL, and that year I was going to UMass Lowell. Like I said, I was committed, and I didn't really want to go to the OHL. I really wanted to get my school paid for it, but Kitchener Rangers kind of heard that I was interested in going to the OHL. They traded for my rights, and I wanted to kind of look at all my options at the time. I went and checked out Kitchener, and we had some talks, and I ended up decommitting to UMass Lowell about a month before going there and signing Kitchener in the OHL. And the rest was kind of history from there. It was a really tough decision for me. But I remember at the time, the biggest thing was you only really get one shot at playing in the NHL. And I wanted to give myself the best shot. And I think I made the right decision. And I think that was going to the OHL and kind of ramping up my development and playing more games and having a little bit more exposure with NHL ready players. Um, and it ended up working out. You know, I ended up, obviously the Atlanta Thrasers turned over to the Winnipeg Jets, and I ended up signing with the Winnipeg Jets and going through their system. I was there for, I think it was 8 years total. I played 6 years pro there, but I think it was about 7.5 years there in the system, and I absolutely loved it. I made some great lifelong friends in Winnipeg. Played my first NHL game there. Had two longer NHL stints there. It was just kind of up and down for about, I'd say, a good part of 2.5 years there, and really just called Winnipeg home for a long time. I really liked it, and but yeah, it came to the time where I just kind of wanted to see how I would do in other organizations, and I kind of wanted to push for that full-time spot. Like I said, I was up and down for 2.5 years, and I really wanted to push for that full-time spot. And I decided to, when I was a UFA, to kind of test the market, and I ended up signing a deal with Florida. Didn't work out there, and I was, minors the full year, and then I ended up signing just an AHL deal this last season, and then moving to an NHL deal. But it's been good. Like, I really don't regret my decision at all. I kind of knew what I had there in Winnipeg with, I was a good up and down player, but I didn't want to, at the end of the day, regret staying there and not trying somewhere else. So that's kind of, I guess, my career to date. And now I'm just kind of seeing what happens with all this COVID stuff, and hopefully we'll get a deal here soon somewhere and go from there.
How busy was your life in the OHL with school and all that?
It was pretty, you know what? It was actually pretty good. So I graduated high school before I played in the OHL. So I know that's kind of a big challenge for a lot of guys. It's going to school and playing in the OHL. Even tier 2 junior A or junior B, I think people kind of forget, and teachers and even the school system, sometimes, you're practicing
Yeah.
at the rink 5-6 days a week, and you're studying. Like, I don't think people really understand what a student athlete is outside of school as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty good for me, because I actually, when I was in the OHL, I was actually taking 2 courses at Laurier, and I had to balance it, and it was tough. It was a lot of planning out, but it taught me some great lessons on responsibility and just taking initiative. But so I ended up just going to 2 courses in the OHL.
What was it like being fortunate enough to be drafted 3rd round by the Atlanta Thrasers in 2010?
Well, it was an awesome experience. Not just for me, but my whole family. It was the draft was in LA that year, so the whole family went out to Los Angeles, and we stayed out there for probably about 2-3 weeks, kind of a little bit of vacation after. It was wasn't really a vacation before the draft, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but when finally my name got called, it was a day I'll never forget. I mean, I like to say it was just happiness, but at the same time, the type of person I am, my name got called, and then I'm like, okay, so like, what's next? And kind of you start thinking about going to training camp, and meeting some of the guys, and if you'll compete with other guys. So that was it was just a really different, interesting day. But I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was an amazing day.
Did you look at their organizational roster depth to see where you would possibly fit in?
Yeah, I think so. And I talked to, at the time, the GM and the coach,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of showed me where I was going to slot in. I mean, not exactly, but they said, I was going to be, hopefully, at that time when I was coming out of school, be, a third pair defenseman, someone who's hard on players, got the puck out, move the puck, yeah, they kind of told me what they expected me and what type of player they wanted me to be. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really look too much into it. I was just kind of more, I don't want to say worried, but concerned about just going there and being able to compete. And, your whole life you work towards playing in the NHL. And finally, when the opportunity comes, I was really, I wanted to be ready, and I wanted to do my best. So that was kind of where the doubt and the, I guess you could say, insecurity came.
What was the call? What was the call when the Jets, called you to play for them for your first NHL game?
It was really interesting. It was actually Christmas break. So I got called up one time before, but I never played. I was a healthy scratch, and then it was actually during our Christmas break when I was playing in St. John's. We had a bunch of days off. I can't even remember what our Christmas break was kind of extended that year, and I think I got called up. It was Christmas Day, and I got the call at maybe like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock that I had to be in Winnipeg by the next morning because we had a game on the 26th against Minnesota. And they told me I was playing because it was, I think it was Mark Stewart who was sick and couldn't play. So I literally had to get on a plane on Christmas Day and fly to Winnipeg. And it was just a whirlwind of emotions. I mean, I was, felt like I couldn't even catch my breath, but what an experience it was.
Like you said, they brought you up, and unfortunately, you were a healthy scratch. Was that just like a ploy for you to get some viewing at the NHL action?
Um, yeah, I think a little bit. So it was actually I got called up as the seventh defenseman, and yeah, it was kind of a short-term thing. Like I can't remember what it was, somebody was suspended or sick. I can't really remember exactly, but it was between me and a couple other defensemen, and I was actually a rookie that year, and I was doing pretty well. It was a lockout year, and I think there was kind of a small chance that whoever was going to get called up was going to play. So I think they did kind of gave me the call. I practiced for a bit, saw a few games, kind of experienced the NHL life, and then get sent back. And it was great they did that for me.
Yeah, it must have been, because I would think that it would help you with your growth as a player as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the more you're up there, the more comfortable you get. Whether it's being on the bus, the plane, at the rink. When you're a young kid and you go into an NHL dressing room, it's pretty intimidating looking
Oh
around
yeah.
and seeing all the guys. So I just think that the more you're there, whether it's playing a game or not, the more comfortable you get. I know that was the case for me, and I was pretty fortunate that I got quite a few call-ups before I played my first game, and then even before I had a little bit longer stints, I was kind of up and down, and just building relationships with the guys, with the staff, everything. Made me feel a lot more comfortable when I did finally get a chance to be a player on the team.
Did you ever get the rookie lap?
I never did actually. I got what I remember somebody hid my helmet before my first game in the warm-ups. It was probably Dustin Bufflin. He does a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, probably. He's a good jokester.
Yeah. Someone hid my helmet, but I ended up I can't remember what happened. I was fully prepared to go out there, no helmet for warm up, which is like unheard of as a rookie. But I can't remember. I think one of the trainers grabbed it. They didn't really like the joke. This is also like how many years ago?
Well, 10 years ago almost.
8, 9 years ago. So it was a little bit. There was a little bit more strictness between rookies and vets. I
Yeah.
think now everyone's a little bit more laid back. But back then, it was like almost like we're not letting a rookie go out there no helmet. So I did end up wearing my helmet, and I was kind of excited, to be honest. I was like, yeah, first warm up, like, I mean, if
No
they
Bucky.
I have to go out there, right? So,
Yeah.
but I didn't get it.
Like you said, you unfortunately got sent back down for St. John's at the time. Did you ever use that for motivation?
Um, yeah, for sure. I think whenever you're up there, I think as I got older, it's a little bit tougher. But whenever you get called in the NHL, I mean, your confidence goes through the roof. I
Oh,
mean, you
yeah.
know that they're watching you and they're taking you seriously as a player. So and yeah, so I think whenever you get into game action, especially, and you come back, you feel great. You're really high on yourself. You're confident. You're a good player, and they value you. So I think, yeah, you kind of just want to keep those wheels turning when you get sent down.
What did the coaches tell you to work on when you got sent down?
I think just being more of my identity.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure you know this, and most players know this, or most fans know this. Going up and down in the NHL, it isn't easy because you're almost two different players between the NHL and the AHL. The
But it's
best
not even.
players.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, it's not even that, but it's like your confidence issue, right? Like you know, like
Yeah,
you said, your confidence goes way through the roof, and then next thing you know, it could just fall to the ground.
exactly. And I think that the best players and the guys who make it are the guys who are the same player in the NHL as they are in the AHL. I think I've seen so many guys come and go now that they're a first line, second line guy in the AHL. They're on the power play. Um, they're a shooter, and then you get called up to the NHL and they're playing on the third and fourth line, and you're trying to make moves at the blue line. You're turning it over. I think it's the guys that play their game consistently. Um, between the AHL and the NHL. For me, I think it was a little bit of a benefit, the type of player I was, because I was always a simple defenseman in the AHL, especially when I was younger. I just played physical, kept it simple, kept the puck moving, and that's kind of the way they wanted me to play in the NHL. So I think that kind of gave me more of leeway for them because they knew what they were getting every night when they called me up or they needed me. So I think a lot of players get caught in between now, and I think that's just a personal opinion. I think guys, they play third, fourth line in the NHL, and they're good at it. Then they get sent to the American League, and they think they're going to be a goal scorer. And it doesn't mean you can't score goals in the AHL, but you got to kind of remember what got you there in the first place, or how you're going to be effective in the NHL. Um, and I think that was kind of important for me to realize for myself. And you see it a lot typically more with younger forwards, and kind of the example I said, but that's something I really realized as I got older.
How did you create the opportunity for yourself to get better?
Um, I think just constantly working on my game. I mean, it sounds like it's mundane or repetitive, but staying on the ice after practice, being in the gym weight room, and also a big thing was watching hockey for me. Like, I think just not a lot of players watch the game and try to get better when they're watching, and I'm the same way. Sometimes everybody likes to watch hockey for entertainment and watch the stars play, but I think for a good part of my career, I would really watch players who I thought I could be like and I thought I played like, and I would watch them. Um, and I think yeah, it's just I think it's great for any young player to do that.
You did play in the Calder Cup Playoffs when you were with the Manitoba Moose back in 2017-18 season. What was that experience like?
Excellent. We had a really good team that year, and I think it was really tough the way it ended. I mean, if you look back at our roster now, we have so many players that play in the NHL now, and we had great goaltending. We actually kind of, I mean, a lot of teams can use this excuse, but we obviously the Jets were in the playoffs that year too, so they took a few of our players that we would have liked to have for the playoffs, but it was a really exciting year. We had a great team. We were first place in the AHL for most of the year that year, and we ended up kind of losing a bunch of players before the playoffs and going into the playoffs. And we still did well. We ended up beating the former Calder Cup champions that year, Grand Rapids, in the first round, and then we did lose to Rockford, who went to I think they went to the conference finals that year. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun. Guys were close on the team, and it was a great experience.
Did you create any playoff superstition for yourself?
Uh, I don't think so. To be honest, I was just kind of it's such a nerve-wracking time for everyone, players,
Oh
coaches,
yeah.
fans even. I just wanted to treat it like any other regular season game. And I was a little bit older at that point too, and I just honestly just told myself, don't do anything different. Don't, try to warm up harder. Don't try to do too much. And you know what? It was actually worked out well for me. I was pretty happy with my game in that playoffs.
What were some of the challenges you guys faced during that first round against Grand Rapids?
Um, well,
Because it
I
did go to a
think
fifth and deciding game, I should say.
yeah, that's right. They had home ice advantage. I remember that, so that was huge. And I think just their playoff experience. They won the Calder Cup the year before. They had a lot of the returning players, and they went to the playoffs. We were a bunch of young kids, like for the most part. We had a lot of young entry level guys. Um, so I think just people didn't really even think we were going to win, even though we were one of the best teams in the league all year. People still kind of had us as the underdog. And I think just the experience, the overall experience, they had a little bit of an older team, more experience, and we were a bunch of young guns, and it was a great series.
Like I said, you guys did go to a fifth and deciding game. Leading up to that game, were there any sleepless nights?
So any what nights?
Sleepless.
Oh, sleepless. Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say fully sleepless, but definitely the nerves. I mean, it was a huge opportunity for everyone on our team. I mean, our teams in St. John's and Manitoba hadn't been good the prior 2-3 years to that. We were kind of in a rebuilding phase. We had some good teams in St. John's early on, and I think everyone was just looking to kind of make their mark in the organization as a player, and we were a little bit pissed off. We weren't great for the last couple of years, so we were really looking to make a splash in the playoffs there. So I think everyone was a little bit nervous, but I think that's kind of part of the game.
You unfortunately did get swept by Rockford Ice Hogs, the Chicago affiliate, the next round. What lessons did you learn from that series
Yeah,
that you could add to your team or game?
yeah, they were a great team. I think that year they had a bunch of guys that they sent down for playoffs. So it's funny how the AHL works. You can have a great team all year, and you just kind of get an unlucky matchup in the playoffs to a team that their parent club doesn't make it, and they send some guys down, and it's almost like two different teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Rockford, they weren't a great team all year. It was kind of weird. They just peaked at the right time. They were kind of I want to even say in and out of the playoff spot all year, and then they kind of really peaked last month of the season going into the playoffs, and I believe they swept the first two rounds. They were an absolute powerhouse that year.
Since you are in the AHL, what's it like knowing that each game could be your last? Since given the fact you could get called up.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. I think that all the best players too also, they're not ever really worrying about getting called up. They're just worrying about that game. And that was kind of something I learned later on in my career, was just worry about the next game, worry about the next shift. When you start getting called up, oh yeah, they got an opening spot up top, someone got injured, they sent someone down. That's kind of when you kind of can lose track of yourself. And I think just kind of taking every day one at a time is kind of the best mentality to have.
What's a typical game day for you?
Typical game day, I'm a lot more relaxed than what I used to be. I used to have a bunch of superstitions and stuff, but I think as you get older, you just kind of realize that you're better off going to a game relaxed and feeling good mentally and physically. I mean, I'd say the two biggest things for me is my pregame meal. I always kind of have the same thing, and I need a nap. I mean, I need that 45 to an hour uh, uh, pure nap, lights off. It was a little bit tougher for me this year because we had a lot of game day trips, which I wasn't really used to in Manitoba. You're almost always there the night before. But now in the Eastern Conference of the AHL, there's a lot more game day travel. So it's a little bit difficult to nap on the bus, but I'm kind of getting better at it.
How busy are you during the season?
Not as busy as people think. Like when we're playing games, like game day, the players are extremely busy.
Yeah.
You're getting up pregame skate, you're coming home, you're taking care of yourself, you're going back. Um, it's a full day thing, but especially in the AHL, the way the schedule is structured, you get a lot of off time throughout the week. Most games in the AHL are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so your Monday through Thursday is usually just practice days. So um, for the most part, I'm done and home from the arena at 1:30, 2 o'clock every day on a practice day, and which is good. I'm not saying that I'm running around doing a bunch of stuff. I'm usually pretty tired, but yeah, 1:32, I'm usually home every day and I got some free time for myself. And um, yeah, so I think players, it's kind of up and down throughout the season with how busy you are.
What do you do to keep yourself busy from Monday to Thursday when you guys just have practice?
A lot of things. For one, like my girlfriend will come visit me. We'll kind of hang out. But if she's not, this year I started taking a real estate course, something kind of for after hockey. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but it was just kind of something I was interested in doing. So I kind of ventured into that this year, and I'm still doing that now actually. But I think when the weather got nicer this year, near the end of the year, a couple guys started hanging out a little bit more. So I'd say those three things: kind of just spending time with girlfriend, a little bit of online stuff, and hanging out with the boys.
What do you typically do when you're just hanging out with the boys? Video games or?
I'm not me. I'm not a big video games guy. I mean, I know a lot of guys are now, a little bit of the younger generations. That's kind of what they do. But no, I think for the most part, just going for lunch, going for a coffee, hanging out at someone's house. I was really lucky to live in a building this year where I think about 8 or 9 of the guys on the
Oh,
team
wow.
lived in. So we used to at nighttime watch hockey together. We'd watch Devils games and just kind of hang out and do that.
How do you keep yourself busy during the off season?
Off season, it's a little bit tougher than you think. I mean, for the most part, I like to travel. The beginning part of the summer, I like to go somewhere, kind of get my mind off hockey. But other than that, hanging out with friends, seeing family. I'm still doing my online course for real estate, and just kind of enjoying the weather. It's so nice now in Toronto. I'm kind of just getting out in the sun as much as I can.
What places have you traveled to?
Um, a few places I've been to for vacation: Bahamas, Florida, Jamaica. Um, where else? Pretty much anywhere there's a beach and hot. That's not too far of a flight. Me and my girlfriend try to go to and kind of unwind at.
Did any of your travel plans get cut due to the coronavirus?
No, well, we had
Oh,
nothing. We didn't
wow.
have anything booked. Yeah,
That's lucky
luckily.
because a lot of people did.
Yeah, we didn't have anything booked. I mean, I think it's kind of the season stopped so abruptly, and we were looking to make a playoff run this year too. So
Hmm.
it was a little bit different from years past, where you kind of, a couple of weeks before the season's end, you know you're not going to be playing hockey in a month from now. But I was planning on having a playoff run this year. I don't know if you were um, look too much at the standings or the season, but we had a really really good team, especially after Christmas. I think we were the best team in the AHL from December 13th or 12th on, and we were really making a push. So I was really excited for this season. It's just unfortunate that it ended like this.
What would have the Calder Cup mean to you if you were to win it?
Oh, huge, man. I just I think it gets overlooked. People are saying, "Oh, I don't want to win the Calder Cup. I want to play in the NHL. I want to win
Yeah.
the Stanley Cup. I want to be a full-time guy in the NHL." But to be honest, I've spent most of my career in the minors, and I think at this point in my career, it'd be huge. Not many guys get to win the Calder Cup. Never mind be on a good team. So I think it means more and more to me every year because you never know when it's going to be your last kick at the can. And yeah, we had a great team this year, so it was really special to me, and it's too bad this all happened.
You're kind of the enforcer defenseman yourself. You've been in a couple of tellies before. What's your mindset knowing you had to punch the other guy's booger bag? I would say.
Uh, yeah, not so much anymore. To be honest, like I was a little bit more. I don't want to say hard nosed, but um, there was just a lot more fighting, especially in the AHL. Like even 5 years ago, it honestly doesn't really happen as much. Um, but it's still a big part of the game. I just don't think that players have the same mindset the way they used to. I think fights are a lot more uh, for the good of your own team now than they are the way they used to be, and just kind of beating each other up. But I think that it's still a huge part of the game that needs to stay in the game. And it doesn't happen for a reason. I think people want to see goals. People want to see playmaking and offense. So I think it's still going to have its part in the game, but it's kind of been overlooked and overtaken by the skill in the game now.
What goes on after the fight? Do you ever just chirp in the sin bin?
uh, no, to be honest, not me. I all my fights are mostly because of standing up for a teammate or a big hit. I'm not more of a guy that kind of goes out looking for it. Um, and to be honest, after a fight, if someone fights me, you got to tip their hat to them. I kind of respect them, and it's the kind of the guys that will keep chirping and kind of skate away from you that you kind of have some lasting feelings for, I'll say. But yeah, I think I'm a pretty tame guy in that sense of it.
Do you ever reach out to a player after the game saying like good fight or thanks for stepping up?
Um, I have, yeah. Like I haven't reached out like on social media or anything like that, but I've definitely seen guys out, especially in Manitoba and St. John. Sorry, especially in St. John's because it's such a small town.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams would kind of be at the same restaurant after the game, having a drink or grabbing some food. And a couple of times I've said hi to the guys that we've played against and not just fought, just kind of battled against all night and just kind of, um, you know, hung out with them and had a conversation. It's this is kind of the way the job is. And then, in a few weeks, you're back up against them again and your opponents. But I think that's what's kind of the cool part of our game is mutual respect for each other.
Like you said, your career was mostly spent in the minors. Have you ever been a part of the teddy bear toss game?
I have, yeah. A bunch of times. I was part of, well, I've been part of all of the ones that my team have put on, but I was, yeah. I got scored on um for the teddy bear toss in the ACC. So the Marlies were playing in the Scotiabank Center. I can't say that. In the Scotiabank Center, and it was a school day game, so it was a sold out Air Canada Center, and um we were last place that year. We were not a good team, and the Marlies are usually always one of the best teams.
Yeah.
And I think I got scored on first shift, and it was actually kind of. I think it was like kind of my fault. I was in front of the net, and like I can't really remember how the goal went in, and I remember just looking up
And
and
just
just
seeing
seeing
all of these teddy bears.
teddy bears everywhere, and I'm just like, oh my god, and I'm from Toronto, so my whole family was there too. So
That's the worst.
yeah, so it was like my family's there. I probably had 10 people there. First shift, we get scored on. And I remember trying to skate off the ice, and I couldn't even skate because I just kept on stepping on teddy bears and sliding. So I was like, this is the most embarrassing moment of my life. And I just kind of got to the bench, buried my head, took water.
What a way to start a game, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, well, we weren't good that year. So to be honest, we started a lot of games like that.
The media coverage isn't as big as it is in the NHL. Does that provide some comfort for you?
Um, Yeah, yes and no. To be honest, I played in Winnipeg, or so when I played in Manitoba, we had quite a bit of coverage there because Winnipeg loves their hockey.
Mhm.
I loved it. I loved. It's nice to get the attention. When you're doing well, you get noticed, and when you're doing bad, you get noticed as well. But I think it's a great way to hold yourself accountable. And I mean, I always loved playing in the big market. Especially, I mean, the OHL I played in at Kitchener, which is a bigger market,
Mhm.
and I love the big markets. I think it's there's just so much hype and so much feeling surrounding the game, and it's an awesome thing to be a part of.
Now, throughout your playing career, who would you say is the best and worst teammate to room with on a road trip?
Ooh, um, best teammate. That's kind of tough one. I can give you the worst teammate, and
Yeah, give me the worst then.
it's he's my good buddy. That's why I can say this. Will O'Neill. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if you know who that is. He played with me in St. John's. We actually lived together, and I wouldn't say worst because he's a great guy, but he's just doing 100 things at once. He's foam rolling in the middle of the between the two beds. He's on his laptop. He's on your side of the room. He's just almost ADD to the max. So he's just all over the place. So I would say for that, Will O'Neill, even though I did it for a long time and we're good buddies, I'd say him. Best is kind of tough. I've had a lot of good roommates. To be honest, it's even nice to be with like a younger guy, even a rookie, because they don't really say much and they just kind of go to bed. So it's just like kind of being like yourself.
Kind of like your
Sorry,
own man.
being by being by yourself. Um, I don't know. I can't say one person per se.
Do you think that your traits kind of, did Willie give you some of his traits too? Because you said that, you're kind of like the same person, how you're just all over the place.
Uh, no, I try not to be like Will. He's up and at it. I kind of try to be a little bit more laid back, um, and mindful. So, I mean, he was good to live with because he taught me to just slow down a bit.
What would be your go-to shootout move if you got a chance?
It's tough. I mean,
Like, I don't want to reveal too much about you because obviously some goalies could be watching, but what would be
yeah,
your
yeah.
go-to move?
My go-to move would probably be like, I say this now, but I honestly think for me is coming down and taking a slap shot. Like I think
Yes.
I if you don't score, you look like a big idiot, but it's actually, and I've talked to goalies, it's tough to save. If you can get that
Like,
off quick and you come down, it's literally the hardest shot you can do. So
like
I
the,
mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's just kind of I don't want to say overlooked, but it's just guys don't really do it as often as I think they should.
Yeah, I mean, like the player that comes to mind when I think of someone going down in a shootout and taking a slap shot is Claude Giroux. Like he does that so well and it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
often, and
yeah,
he's a master at it.
yeah. Oh, for sure. And he gets it off quick, and it's like if you think about it, you're taking the hardest shot you can take as close as you pretty much can to the goalie. And I mean, like, yeah, you can make a move, but it's like it's a heavy shot to save as a
Mm-hmm.
goalie.
But with with going down as a slap shot, once you wind up, like you say, you can do a move, you can fake the slap shot, you can take it.
Yeah,
There's so many possibilities going through a goalie's head.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the fake slap shot. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you could definitely pull something like that off. Maybe not me. I think I'm committed to it and just gonna try to shoot it right through him. But yeah, for sure.
Do you have a funny story to share about your career?
Ooh, I should have thought of this beforehand. Let me try to think. Um, yeah, this is kind of a funny story. This didn't happen in pro, but
Yeah, sure.
um,
Just during your career, whether it's in the
yeah, yeah.
OHL.
This is just a funny story that it always like comes to mind when someone's asked me this same question. So I was playing. It was my NHL draft year, and I was playing in the top prospects games, I
Oh,
guess.
CHL top prospects. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's this was the CJHL top
Oh,
prospect game.
okay.
So it's not obviously as big as the CHL prospect game, but it's still a pretty big event. It's players from all around Canada are invited to this game, and it's a lot of scouts that go there. A lot of guys going NCAA, guys trying to get drafted in NHL, and it was in Winkler, Manitoba. So everyone was really excited. It was my draft year. I was talking to a couple teams, and I was really excited. And I was just before the game, I was like, like I gotta stand out tonight. Kind of just thinking to myself, like I gotta really stand out. And I'm like, okay, like I don't really know what I said to myself exactly, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm ready for this game. I'm gonna come out. I'm coming out, balls out, and it was that lap. So before the game starts, after warm up, like that first lap, the token lap, everyone kind of
Mhm.
comes out and goes around the net, and then goes to the bench, and the game starts. So I come flying out of the gate. I'm like second or third guy, and I'm like ripping, and I get to the net, and I don't know if it was like I don't even know if I lost an edge or I stepped on something, but fell, and I was going like 100% for probably like 8 seconds, and the ice was slippery. So like when you slide on wet ice, you slide, right?
Yeah.
And I hit the net, and I take the net out, and I literally am lying on the back of the net, and the net falls, and we go crashing into the corner, and it makes a huge sound, and everyone in the rink is staring at me, and I'm like, oh my god, like it was. I couldn't even get to the bench fast enough. I just kind of get to the bench and I'm like, please, like, hopefully no one saw my name on the back of my jersey. That was by far the most embarrassing, but in hindsight, the funniest thing that happened to me.
Well, I guess the Zamboni driver's got to do a better job cleaning the ice, not leaving the
Yeah,
residue.
yeah. Yeah, but you know what? It probably wasn't. I probably tripped over my own feet or something. I was just kind of trying to do too much early on.
Now, to close off this interview, do you have any advice for aspiring hockey players that may look up to you?
I would say just stick with it and make sure you're really enjoying it. I honestly, I think too many young players get kind of caught up like, I have to do this to get drafted. I have to do this to go to school. I have to get this if I want to be the best player on my team. Like, just really focus on what you do well and enjoy doing it, because I think that your passion and your love for the game will carry you through it naturally. I think like even like now I see it, you know, like it'll be my 9th year pro. Like the best players are the guys who love playing the game, and when the going gets tough, like their love for the game pulls them through it, and just it really translates to their on ice production. And I just think that growing up is kind of the same way. Like love the game and be the player that you want to be and what you're good at and what you love to be. Don't let someone tell you that you have to do this, that you have to do that. Yeah, if you want to make it, you have to do this certain thing. I think at a young age, you just really want to develop those roots of the love and the passion for the game more than anything.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Binghamton Devils defenseman Julian Melchiori. Thank you again for joining me on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Michael.